campaign with a win in Morocco. Details of these and many more will be yours when we return from the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. It's Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television Network. I have Mike with me at this hour.
Thanks for having me this morning. And of course, it is just a few hours before December 25th, and I'm very, very happy to be here this morning.
Ahead of the Yuletide of Christmas, the chairman of the National Sports Commission, Shehu Diko, has confirmed that the rewards of houses and national honors plus cash awards of the as equivalent of $100,000 has been awarded by the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to the Super Falcons, the Tigers, and of course these awards are ready for collection. This has been a source of concern to most of the athletes here in Nigeria, especially the Super Falcons and the Tigers that had won laurels for the country in the past, and they were promised honors, titles to houses, and now it's over 2 years plus, and now it's been brought to fruition by President Ahmed Bola Tinubu through the National Sports Commission a few days ago.
I think it's a good one. It is coming very late, but then it is better late than never. All right, a promise was made, and of course, promise is more like raising the hope of someone, and they've waited for 2 years plus before the fulfillment is coming. And I think at the point where it is coming, it is very timely, because the Super Eagles are there in the African Cup of Nations. Maybe this might just be a propelling factor to help them to, of course, rekindle their interest and show more commitment to winning this year's African Cup of Nations. But then, like I said, it's coming late, but it is better late than never.
It's better late than never, and Shehu Diko, the chairman of the National Sports Commission, all the way in Morocco, presenting certificates of award to deserving Super Eagles players that, of course, did discharge themselves so well in the past. And the Super Falcons as well. The Tigers are not left out of this one. In the past, they have been complaining, if you remember, especially the Tigress. And now this will be a thing of the past. It's a resurgence. Is it a departure from the past?
A departure from the past, I don't really think so, because consistently we've shown that we don't really follow up things as they ought to be, because we shouldn't be talking about staying 2 years plus before, fulfilling a promise. We just wait and see. But then some other government has come and go, made some promises and never fulfilled them. All right, some are still being owed. Some of Nigerian sportsmen and women, after many promises, they have not received such promises. So this time around, for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, fulfilling this one, I don't know if we have actually left the way we used to do things. But government is continuum. One government might come and decide to do things one way, and the next government will come in, on board and to a different line altogether. And that is why I cannot truly certify whether it is a clear departure from the conventional, the way we used to do in the past. Well, I think Mr. President must also be commended for taking that bold step to fulfilling this particular one, and I hope that it continues this way.
Fingers across. I will just hope that there will no longer be, or in the government will no longer owe athletes. They should be compensated as soon as they, bring laurels to the country, at least to motivate other younger athletes to look forward to something when they do win for the country. From that good gesture from the President, Ahmed Bola Tinubu, we go to very cheering news as well, where a Nigerian youth captain, Sufihan Bulawatife, had fought hard to win the final round as he won the 5th edition of the Closed Scrabble Championship in Ilorin, Kwara State. The youngster led Team Nigeria to Kenya for the African Youth Championship, and of course did distinguish himself, featuring at the World Tournament in Sri Lanka. Mike, he played his way to the top of the table as he fended off strong challenges from rivals, including defending champion Olawale Kudus, who finished second. Both were separated by very small cumulative points there. What do you make of it? Nigeria shining at the African Championship?
Definitely. I think a good one. Nigeria doing pretty well. And for the winner of this year's edition, I think it was impressive display from him, dethroning the reigning champion, talking about Kudus, who fought gallantly. Just that his effort fell short of that
well,
of the win.
796 points, to hold nearly 800 points there to finish first, while we saw the reigning, former champion now, with plus 303 in a 22-player tournament.
Yeah, the same matches won. It's just that cumulative points were far away different. You saw that
nearly
disparity. Exactly. So I think maybe he's just take positive from the fact that at least he was able to win the same number of match compared to the winner. It's just that the cumulative point spread across was a little bit lower for him to catch up. But then I think generally it is a good feeling, a good one for Nigeria, because these are the younger ones that is going to, of course, take responsibility in future, and they are beginning to show the sign that indeed, if given proper attention, they can even achieve more.
Well, fingers crossed on that, and we just hope that these youngsters in Scrabble will be supported by the Federation to ensure that they are moved from one level to the other. We want to see a Nigerian win the World Scrabble Championship. That will be something to behold, Mike.
Definitely, definitely. And I think we are willing to, move that, force right now. From the look of things, the next 2-3 years, with the exceptional display of Kudus and Bolawale, I think we can achieve that feat in the next 2-3 years. Like I said, if proper care, attention, support given to this one, maybe expose them the more, send them overseas, let them go get even more equipped, and they train themselves the more and get exposed to some of the newly improved technological equipment. I can assure you they will do better. So I think it is very much achievable for we to dominate the world scene in the near 2 or 3 years.
And of course, we've just been joined by one of Nigeria's best sports journalists, China Chiru. China, nice to have you on the Sports Talk Atlantic Television Network. Chiara, can you unmute yourself? I can't hear you well. Can you hear me now?
Good morning, Cyril. My pleasure to be here.
Okay. Thanks. You're joining at the point where we're looking at a Nigerian, winning an African championship in Scrabble. What does it portend in the next few years? We've seen a young star winning the African championship in Scrabble.
Yeah. This is not the first time I've had a top Scrabble player come from Nigeria, but it's not like it's regular to have this. So when you have a Nigerian win this, it just tells you that maybe from the Scrabble Federation or from the state associations, something is being done right. But like I've always warn, when you win one tournament or one championship, it could be an accidental win. I've not said it is, it could be. But the way to show the world that it was actually a planned win is the consistency. Now, how do we get consistent? We always talk about discovering talent. And I ask, after talent are discovered, what next? They must be engaged continually. We need to have more competitions, more for secondary schools, more for universities, because this is where you get Scrabble players. Scrabble is not like football. Scrabble has to do more with brain work. It's more of a cerebral game. So there should be more Scrabble tournaments in secondary schools, in primary schools, in secondary schools, in universities, because where this champion came from, I always insist that there are many more there.
Well, we hope the Federation will nurture and condition the youngsters that have emerged so far so that we can see them move across to the continent, beyond the continent, at least to the world as well. Who says a Nigerian cannot be a world Scrabble champion? Chana, just before you joined us, we've informed that President Ahmed Bola Tinubu has fulfilled the promises made to the Tigress a couple of months ago. Same promises that were made to the Super Eagles players about 2 years ago and have all been fulfilled now, especially with the team in Morocco playing the African Cup of Nations. Certificates of award of houses have been given to the Super Eagles player. What does it mean to the players that are in the tournament?
It means that they are house owners. It also means that apart from being house owners, they are also millionaires. It also tells them that the government of the day will not wait 35 years for them to fulfill a promise. We know what happened to the US-94 Eagles and to some other Eagles. So it also tells them all of this. And it also tells other sports teams, maybe football teams, basketball teams, or individual athletes, that if there ever comes a time where the current government makes a promise, it will be fulfilled in less than a year, which is not the norm in Nigeria. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a good one for the players, it's a good one for the government of the day, because people will not believe them the more, and generally it's a good one for sports.
Okay, that brings us to the AFCON tournament. You are here. It's not every day we get to find you on the Atlantic Television Network. So we'll look at the tournament. It is about 3 days old now. The 35th edition of the African Cup of Nations is about 3 days old out there across 6 cities in Morocco. 6 cities, 9 centers. I'm sure you had followed from the beginning just about a few hours ago, maybe from Sunday. Will you want to assess the opening ceremony and the fact that there was an incident, especially that has to do with laser, which has been earlier banned by CAF ahead of the tournament?
You can't ban lasers, you can't. Unless you're saying you're going to search every fan that comes into the stadium. You see, the use of laser beams in football stadiums is almost like culture in North Africa. It's almost like culture in North Africa. It's like the vuvuzelas in South Africa. We didn't go to ban vuvuzelas in South Africa. Now, I'm not saying the use of lasers is a good thing. It's used mostly to distract opponents, especially goalkeepers, when they're defending the free kick, when they're defending the penalty kick, when they're defending the corner kick. That's what they're used for. So I've not said it's a good thing to have laser beams at stadiums. What I'm saying, CAF saying they ban lasers, it's not going to work because I mean you're going to have to set the stadium. That's a whole lot of work. Um, I would just think that CAF can appeal to the people, but again, how does that work? Because a man that puts lasers in his pocket in the stadium, he has a mission, and they're going to use it. So I don't know how CAF will do this, but it's almost impossible to ban lasers at a stadium in a tournament hosted in North Africa. Almost impossible.
And the opening ceremony, we had Nigerian star Davido and, of course, French Montana on showcase. How will you relate the creativity of these stars, African stars, on the big stage? The African Cup of Nations was beamed across the world, and it was a showcase that, for me, projected the African culture.
The stars you call are big stars in their own right, very big stars in their own right, and they never fail to deliver when they are called to perform on the big stage. So really, it was nothing new for me because that's what I expect from them. They knew what they were invited to do, maybe paid to do or hired to do. They've done it before. It's the biggest football tournament in Africa, hosted by one of the most organized countries in Africa right now. So I didn't expect anything less from them, nothing less.
Okay, Mike, you're still here. The African Cup of Nations is into day 4 today, but let's review the activities so far in the last 3 days. 6 centers, just about 3 or so have been used. How will you rate the attendance at the most of the matches that we've seen so far?
I think attendance has been minimal. The first game involving the host country Morocco against Comoros, we saw the stadium failed to hit a rim. Maybe because they are the host country, of course, the president, of a CAF and that of a FIFA, Gianni Infantino, and the Moroccan leader was also there as well. So we saw a full stadium in that particular counter. But the second game, the number wasn't to be compared with what we saw at Morocco. But whichever way you want to take a look at it, I think we've had a very minimal attendance in the matches played so far. And I believe as a competition wears on, people's interest will even get more elevated, and that will pull more fans into the stadium. And generally, I think I will give Morocco, a thumbs up so far, just like what Mr. China have stated. One of the most organized country in Africa as we speak right now in terms of development, in terms of every sphere of life. They are up there. So I think it's been an exciting one, and I think I give them pass marks so far.
China, talking about the African Cup of Nations ongoing, the 35th edition ongoing in Morocco. Today is day 4. We've seen day 1, day 2, day 3. Day 1, day 2, day 3, we've seen about 18 countries involved in the action, where 24 countries are expected to be part of. And we've seen of these 18 countries, only 3 have not been able to score a goal. Comoros, and of course, Botswana, and I think what is the other country now? Benin Republic. These 3 countries have not been able to score. If not, the other countries have scored at least a goal so far in the tournament. Are you surprised that Comoros have not been able to score, Benin, and as well as Botswana?
Well, it's just one game. For Benin Republic, it's just one game. So I expect them to score goals. In their group, in their qualifying group that had Nigeria, they actually finished second behind Nigeria. At the World Cup qualifying group that had Nigeria, they actually dragged it to the final day for the lost 4-0 to Nigeria. So I expect Benin to score goals eventually. So it's just one game. For the likes of Comoros and Botswana, really, these are not the best teams in Africa. They're not even secondary teams in Africa. They are teams that are just here to enjoy the moment. Now, unlike what people think, not every team at the AFCON came to win it. Some are here just to participate. and the likes of Comoros Island, the likes of Botswana, are basically have to participate. If they get a goal, they will celebrate that goal as if they got a win. So for those ones, I'm really not surprised. They will just enjoy their game and probably be knocked out. Or maybe if the luck of football smiles on them, they will get a win or two. And you never can tell. It's football. We have seen stranger things happen. Yeah, but for now, it's just one game. There are still two more games to be played.
Senegal and Tunisia, China have been the most prolific so far, 3 goals each. Are you surprised that Senegal and Tunisia have started on, a goal crazy note? In the very first game, they've scored 3 goals apiece.
Senegal have been at the top echelon of African football for some time now. Probably the past 10 years, they've been there. They hover around the top. So I'm not surprised that Senegal play football with so much ease and win with so much ease. Yeah, they could get unlucky in the knockout stage and get knocked out, but we must all agree between Senegal and Morocco, these are two of the most consistent countries in African football right now. For Tunisia, a lot of times they flatter to deceive, but maybe because the AFCON is played in North Africa, with something close to home advantage, playing in a region that, I said close to home advantage, playing in a region that they are used to, maybe. But the Tunisians always flatter to deceive. But for a first game, with the kind of opposition they played against, I'm really not surprised that the Tunisians and Senegalese scored that many goals. I mean, these are teams that will do so well. Tunisia might maybe top the group they are in, which involves Nigeria, might maybe top. Senegal might maybe top their group. So I'm not surprised at this stage because there are so many countries in the AFCON and a lot of them are there just for participation. But the crunch time comes up in the knockout stage. But for now, not surprised at all that Tunisia and Senegal got those goals.
Okay, Chana, you just we'll take a break, but when we return from the break, we'll continue to look at the African Cup of Nations and its impact, especially as it concerns the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Last night, the Super Eagles were in action. We'll take a review of that fixture, and beyond that, take a peep into Europe as well. There are football actions across Europe, and we saw Arsenal in action last night. What a game it was. It ended 8-7. That was a match made for penalties, if you ask me. When we return from a break, Mike is still here. Together, we'll bring you up to speed with the latest happening at the 35th edition of African Cup of Nations, and take a look at Europe as well to see how football will lighten the Yuletide. Christmas is full of football, and we'll give you a peep of it on the show later when we return from a break. Stay with us. Welcome back. It's Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television Network. We have China Chiru, one of Africa's best sports journalists, and Mike as well with me here in the studio. And together we'll bring you up to speed with the latest happening around the world of sports. We earlier told you how a Nigerian has been able to, a youngster has been able to win a Scrabble championship here. And we're looking at how this youngster could be, conditioned as well. Beyond that, the President of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, had fulfilled promises made a couple of years ago to Super Eagles players, the Tigress, and of course other athletes that were made promises to, but yet to be fulfilled. 100,000 US dollars, houses, had all been given to the respective winners of this award. Now, let's get back to the African Cup of Nations that is ongoing in Morocco. We told you earlier that 6 cities across Morocco is hosting the tournament, and with 9 centers as well. China, let's look at the Super Eagles of Nigeria. They were in action last night. At the end of the 90 minutes plus added time, the Super Eagles were able to beat their counterparts by 2 goals to 1. China, how did you see that fixture? Is it an opening fixture that we've seen? Nigeria have been to the Nations Cup as many as 20 times, and we had 20 opening ceremonies. It looks like this is their 16th win at the opening day of their opening match at the Nations Cup.
Yeah, first things first. As Nigerians, we are happy that the Super Eagles won. Watching that game, I'm sure a lot of us are not that confident, especially for around the 70th minute mark. We're not that confident. Nigeria started well, put pressure on the Tanzanians. They got the first goal, got the second just as second half started, but that one was cancelled for offside. Then the Tanzanians equalized, and 2 minutes later we went 2-1 up. Now, from around the 70th minute, from where I was sitting, I thought that the Super Eagles did not even need to score a third goal. They just control the game, pass the ball around, play off the counter, control the game, pass the ball around, play off the counter. But the Nigerian team began to play as if there was a goal difference issue where they needed to score more goals, and it surprised me. And in football, when you push up, you create openings behind, and the Tanzanians had some quick counter attacks that almost destroyed us. So I wouldn't know why the coach chose to go that route of, looking for it. Listen, it's Tanzania for God's sake. It's not Tunisia or Morocco. It's Tanzania. At 2-1 up, control the game, and you might cause them to make mistakes because they were the team that was more in need of a goal to draw the game, not us. So I wouldn't know why he did that, but eventually, I would say we are lucky to come up with a 2-1 win. And listen, all you need to do now is to win the game. You do your postmortem checks later. So what we do is our postmortem checks. And so the coach would have done their postmortem checks last night or early this morning. So but they have the 3 points in the bag. Next game will not be that easy, and we all know it. So I think the team will need to be more careful in their approach. But generally, for an opening day game, listen, and we won. That's all that matters.
Opening day game 16 for Super Eagles of Nigeria win. The 16th win at opening day in the history of the African Cup of Nations. Mike, let's look at the Super Eagles lineup now. Are you surprised at the players that did start this encounter? It looks like Eric Schell, the head coach of the Super Eagles, now have found his team.
I don't think he has found his team. There's still more for him to do because taking a look at the first starting lineup that he marshaled out, I think it was okay. People were really concerned about the back line because of the retirement of the then captain William Troost-Ekong, and then the injury to Benjamin Frederick. Some thought that Semilogo Ajayi wasn't that kind of player that can pair seamlessly with Kelvin Bassey because they haven't been playing together for that particular position for a very long time. But then I think the coach did his job. Generally, I think there is still more for Eric Schell to do in terms of his first starting lineup. From what I saw, yesterday, if the likes of Ola Aina was fit, for this AFCON, I think he should have, started in that, right back because I think he feels very much comfortable in that area. My concern about yesterday lineup is about the midfield. We know that Alex Iwobi is doing his best, but most time the creativity is not really top.
Just before we get to look at the midfield, let's continue to look at the defense line. China. Stanley Wabali in goal for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Before this, the World Cup qualifiers, if you remember, there's been a lot of complaint about his indecision and sometimes lateness to coming out of his goal area, and sometimes overreaching his goal area as well. A lot of people believe that he had like 70% culpable to that goal that was scored by Tanzania. I don't know what you think. Was Stanley Wabeli in his best moments throughout the 90 minutes plus at the time of that encounter?
I think Wabeli did well enough, right? One thing I've learned about football people is that when the goal is considered, you try to look for someone to blame. Right? When a team loses a match, you want to blame someone. Oh, the coach got his tactics wrong. Oh, that defender did not clear his lines. Oh, this, oh, that. For the goal that Wabali considered, like I said, I was watching the game. First thing I would have asked was, where was the defense? Where were they all ball watching? How did that striker get all that space in the 6-yard box? How? And then I said, if a decent striker gets that chance with all that space in the 6-yard box with a goalkeeper, 8 out of 10 times he scores. And the striker scored. Now, could Wabali have done better? Yes. But the question now is that where was the defense? How come that player had all that space? So I think that was a team mistake. Whatever we are thinking, how did they get absent-minded at that point? I saw 2 players using their hands for offside, but you were at least 2 meters behind the striker at the time you got contact with the ball.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Yeah, talking about 2 players raising their hands, China. Sorry to interrupt you there. I saw Sanusi, Zainal Sanusi, he was, like you said, behind and raising his hand. What was he thinking?
He was thinking maybe offside. I think that's just a reflex action for footballers, right? When you concede a goal, you first have to check if you actually hoping it's offside. So you first look at the assistant referee and raise your hand, hope it's going to be offside. It's just like when the player gives the bad tackle that causes a penalty. You raise your hand in the air like, I didn't do anything. I did something. I think it's a reflex action. So once that player scored that goal, the first thing is they are not actually saying for sure it's offside. They are hoping it's offside. But the question now is that you should have been closer to the ball, because if those defenders were at least a meter or less to that player, he would have had the amount of composure to put the ball behind the goalkeeper. He knew he was alone. He had too much space. So yes, I want to say, could Wabali have done better? Could the team have done better in their marking, in their focus, in their concentration? So I look at that as a team mistake, and it cost Nigeria that goal.
Okay, let's look at the midfield earlier spoken about by Mike here. The midfield we saw, in my opinion, Alex Iwobi, in charge of that midfield. Mike seemed not to be completely satisfied, but then the Semi Ajayi was given the man of the match award after that encounter between Nigeria and Tanzania last night. But a lot of people believe he should have gone to Alex Iwobi with 2 assists and, of course, command of the midfield or the Super Eagles of Nigeria.
I would have actually thought Alex Iwobi, he had a massive game. Alex Iwobi is one player that Nigerians complain about a lot, because we Nigerians feel that he doesn't give for Super Eagles the kind of performance he gives for Fulham or for Arsenal when he was with Arsenal. And a lot of people feel when he wears Super Eagles jerseys, he's not as as commanding as he is in Europe. But for yesterday, I saw a commanding performance from Alex Iwobi. That was a rare performance from him. Apart from the 2 assists, he actually imposed himself on the game. And that's why when the man of the match team came up and I saw Semi Ajayi, I said, well, maybe because he got the goal. Maybe because he was the defender really scored and he got the goal. But I would think that it's Alex Iwobi. But I don't know how that award was given. Was it voted for by journalists at the stadium? Was it a small committee that announced him? I wouldn't know. And I wouldn't know what indices they looked at to give to Semi Ajayi. But if it was left for me to have given that award, I would have gone for Alex Iwobi rather.
Okay, Mike, still looking at the Nigerian team and the players that were standing. A lot of people have put up their faith in Victor Osimhen. Last night, it looks like it was a little bit off. And one man that stepped up, in my opinion, was Adams Akko. What do you think? If Victor Osimhen is not doing well, Akko has to step up.
Definitely, you need to of course, a step up. It wasn't the best of game for Victor Osimhen yesterday, though he had a couple of chances. He couldn't convert. The one that he scored was ruled out for an offside. I expected Akko Adams to be that complementary striker that can also stand tall whenever Victor Osimhen, doesn't score. But Akko Adams yesterday, he was not in that game. If for the game that I watched, I think his performance yesterday was below par, and that was why I was even a little bit happy when Paul Onachi was introduced into the game, although he did not have much time for him to showcase what he has. But then I think Akko Adams need to step up whenever Victor Osimhen is not firing, because we cannot really overburden Victor Osimhen every now and then for the Super Eagles goals. I think Akko Adams, Paul Onachi, they need to step up.
Talking about stepping up, China, did Ademola Lookman step up last night for the Super Eagles of Nigeria, where Victor Osimhen did not score?
Yes, I thought Ademola Lookman had a decent game. I wasn't even just about the goal he scored. Anaku was well taken. The goal was well taken, if I must add that. But I think Ademola Lookman had a decent game. For some time, Nigerians have complained about his performance at the Super Eagles, especially since last summer, where he had issues with his club and did not play a few games at the start of the season. So at the World Cup qualifiers and playoffs, Nigerians have complained about his output for the team. But I look at yesterday's game and I think that, or I believe that Ademola Lookman had a decent game. Yeah, apart from the goal he scored, he had a decent game.
Okay. Like we mentioned, 18 countries out of 24 have been in action. Later today, a few hours from now, about 1:30 p.m. Nigerian time, we'll see more action at the African Cup of Nations. China, Burkina Faso, and Equatorial Guinea will step up by 1:30 p.m. Nigerian time in Morocco.
Yeah, I think, for example, that looks more like an evenly matched game for me. I look at both teams, Burkina Faso and Equatorial Guinea, as the second-rate teams or maybe third-rate teams in Africa. I mean, if by first-rate teams, I'm going to put the likes of Morocco, like Senegal, maybe Cote d'Ivoire, to an extent Nigeria. I'll put the likes of Equatorial Guinea and Burkina Faso, in the ladder just below them. But in tournaments like this, and there's one issue with the AFCON. A lot of the African countries come to the AFCON look like they're not prepared for it. Could it be because most of our players are in Europe and they have little time to train together for the AFCON? So first games are always nothing much to look out for. Then probably by the time the team come out for the second game, they begin to play with a little more cohesion, a little bit of more cohesion. So for this game, just like the Nigeria Burkina Faso, the Nigeria Tanzania game, I wouldn't be hoping for so much until probably the second match day. Then we might begin to see what these teams are made out of. But for this game, I'll just say it's between two evenly matched teams.
Algeria and Sudan will be in action for the first time at this year's Nations Cup. Mike, when I talk of Sudan, it reminds me of the very first edition of the African Cup of Nations way back in 1957. Sudan was one of the founding fathers or founding countries that got off with the. But coming up against Algeria, that is played in North Africa, one country that in the past used to be very fearsome when you mention the name in African football. Do you think that factor will affect Sudan at 4 p.m. Nigerian time?
I think from all indices on paper, even bookmakers as well, they've also given it to Algerian side in North Africa. And of course, the North African has a way of, having their ways whenever they come up against other countries from different regions right here in Africa. So I think Algeria is good to go for this particular one. But then football is full of surprises, and that is why it is always very, very unpredictable. Sudan could also trouble Algeria if they come up with their A game. But I think, for me, Algeria has the squad depth and, of course, the experience to go past Sudan.
Talking about squad depth, China, at about, what time is it? It will be about 6:30 or so, Nigerian time. We will see Ivory Coast take on Mozambique. It looks like the Ivorians have squad depth far more than the Mozambicans.
Yes, and that'll be one thing to look out for, except there's an upset. Because we must agree that upsets happen in football. So expect as an upset, we all expect Ivory Coast to win. We all expect Ivory Coast to score more than one goal because they are clearly the better playing country in terms of playing performance, playing personnel, in terms of past record as a team, in terms of ambition and mentality. We expect Ivory Coast to win and win well. But then again, like I said, except as an upset, it's a game we expect Ivory Coast to win and win well.
Gabonese, the Azingo Stars, are into this year's African Cup of Nations. It's not the first time they are coming to the African Cup of Nations, but they are a team noted for causing upset. Can they upset the indomitable Lions of Cameroon at 9 p.m. Nigerian time? China?
You know that there's a Central African rivalry here. Both Cameroon and Gabon are in the Central African region. And that could be akin to the Nigeria-Ghana rivalry, Nigeria-Cote d'Ivoire rivalry, or Nigeria and any other country in West Africa. So, listen, just like we expect a lot from Cameroon based on their exploits in the 80s and 90s, we will also accept that in the past 10 years, Cameroonian football has not been anything to write home about. We must not accept that. So again, this one matchup, I think, may not go as expected. Because a lot of people look at Cameroon like what they were in the days of Roger Miller, in the days of Patrick Mboma, in the days of what they call Samuel Eto'o Fils. But it's not the same Cameroon. It's not. Except the coach has to open up his sleeves. Then we will know by the time the game is played.
Well, the African Cup of Nations continue in Morocco. Like I mentioned to you, 6 cities will have 9 centers across China. Just overall, this is the first time we're having 6 centers with as many as 9 centers, 6 cities with as many as 9 centers. Is this anything to say about the state of infrastructure in Morocco?
Yes, it does. I mean, these days it's looking like CAF wants Morocco to host everything because they've actually shown the world that they can do it. I remember Morocco has had bids to host the World Cup at least twice before, and they did not win the bid. But what they are showing the world is what was denied us at the world stage. We are showing it. We are showing it that we can do it. We have the infrastructure, we have the maintenance culture, we have the facilities, we have the ambition, we have the systems to do it. So we're all impressed. We are all impressed, and if you leave for CAF, Morocco will host every AFCON because they have actually shown that they can do it.
Morocco can do it from what we've seen so far by China. Maybe just about the last question to you. Now it is $10 million if you win the African Cup of Nations. Far cry from 5 increased to $7 million in the past.
We just keep getting better. Now, one mistake we make is that trying to compare ourselves with Europe. We think, oh, the Europeans get this amount while we're getting that amount. In club football, players in Africa earn this amount when Europeans get that amount. But we should also know that the systems are different. The sponsorship is different, right? The awareness is different. The brands who want to partner with football in Europe will not want to give out the same as the brands that want to partner with football in Africa. And then again, we must also blame Africa for not being very organized. For one, the AFCON. Sometimes it's played in January, then it's played in March, then it's played in June, now it's played in December. They're not so consistent about it. So all these things affect, partnership. But in any case, with Africa, you take what you get and always hope that things can get better. For me, it's not as good as what happened to Europe, but it's really not bad.
Well, Bosempe, the CAF president, to me, is not doing badly. Increase across, of course, there's a new Nation League tournament as well. A lot of things are happening. Nations Cup now will be coming up in 4 years. and not the regular 2 years. Alignment with Europe all the way. So we hope that someday we'll find the same in terms of financial rewards in football. We're running out of time, but China is not every day we see you here, so we have to stretch it a little bit. Semi-finalists have emerged at the Carabao Cup. Arsenal, in a dramatic quarter-final last night. What was your takeaway from that last night match that ended 8-7 via a sudden penalty kicks and that resulted into a sudden death?
You know, when it gets to the lottery of penalty shootout, it's the most resilient team that wins. Nobody can claim it's an expert in penalties. I know that back in the 80s and 90s, the Germans hardly ever lost a penalty shootout game, if you remember.
Yeah.
And they were seen as the masters of penalty shootouts. But again, it's a shootout. It takes a tough mentality to win it. It takes resilience, and it takes a strong belief in yourself to win it. So maybe Arsenal was that team that had all these qualities working for them. And to go to 8-7 on penalties, it shows that a lot of kicks were taken, a lot of tired legs, a lot of fatigued brains, and to eventually win it, I'm sure it would have taken a lot from the Arsenal team. But then the semi-final, so be it. On to the next one.
Final questions for this program for you, China. Not every day, like I said, we'll see you here. And a lot of people will expect you to answer one question as it relates to Liverpool FC. Isak, how long will he be away from Premier League football?
Probably at least 2 months, or maybe a bit less. Now, it's unfortunate because Isak is the British record signing and was expected to play many games. So far, he has been in and out of injuries, has managed only 3 goals, 2 in the league, 1 in the cup, which is not enough for a striker of that repute. Then he goes out injured and he has to have a surgery. So like I say, it's unfortunate, but like Kenny Dalglish said once, he said, when you sign a player and give him a 5-year contract, you don't judge him in the first month or in the first week or even in the first season. You judge him after 3 seasons because he signed a 5-year contract. That money is his value for the next 5 years. So hopefully he's going to come out from this injury and play. But on the bright side, Liverpool has a Ekitike who has been doing well. He has been massive in the attack for Liverpool. So hopefully he doesn't get injured in the time that it takes for Isak to come back. He's a big loss to the club, but it's football. It happens. Injuries are part of the game. And all it takes is to watch the so and the slot will do about this missing link in the team.
Thank you very much, China Cheru, for being part of the show. Sure, we'll get you back again. This is a season of football. It is Christmas, but football is laced between now and even into the first week of, or even the second week of January 2026. So I'd like to say a compliment season to you, China.
The pleasure is mine.
Well, that will be it for this edition of Sports Talk. We'll be back at 6 p.m. Nigerian time for Sports Extraordinary, where we'll take in-depth look at what has happened at the African Cup of Nations and, of course, build up to European football as well. Don't forget the Premier League here is ongoing in Nigeria as well. Until then, remember, peace and unity are clearly pathways to progress. Always enjoy here on Atlantic Television Network.